1872. It was 1872, the 72nd year of the 1800s, 1872, when this massive fire destroyed a city, Judge Goldberg. This city was burned and destroyed, and it was almost like this fire crept like a line of red ants crawling and crunching everything in front of them, while black ants came behind them and consumed the earth. The earth was scorched, it was blackened. Nothing else existed. The town, the villagers who suffered this fire, they met and they discussed and they said to each other, what are we going to do? Where will we go from here? What's the answer? And we can't go north because we're not welcomed there. We can't go west because we're fishermen and there's no market there. We can't go south because the folks down south, they crazy. So where else might we go? They asked. A small voice from the audience said, east. And everyone turned and converged on him and looked at him, and he stood up, this frail figure, and it looked almost like a Norman Rockwell painting. It was an amazing concept, and he said, east, and the speaker, the leader, said, what do you mean east? Nothing is there except water. We can't go east. What do you think we should do? Move mountains? They asked. And this frail man said, exactly. So we shared his plan with them. They liked it. And so what they decided to do was, assuming this is the water, they built some train tracks, and train tracks went up to this mountain range around this Toussaint, like it's at the mountain. And they built train tracks, went all the way back around. And the mountain had train tracks, and the train tracks would go up to the mountain. They would dig a shovel's worth of dirt, put it into the train, and they whistled while they worked. And that dirt came down to the ocean. They dropped the sand into the ocean. I'm not sure if you've ever dropped dirt into water before, but it like disappears, right? But they did this, and they did this, and they did this until there was a small little peak, and they got excited. It's working, so they kept doing it, and they kept doing it until they moved nearly 600 acres of dirt. Robert Olmsted came and built something on top of that. There's a Logan Airport, a really bad, horrible baseball team. Go Mets, go Mets, go Mets. But you might know this area. You might know of where I'm talking. Anybody know where this is? Downtown Boston. The Great Fire of Boston in the year of 1872 decimated its downtown. So a group of men got together, a group of men and women got together and rebuilt it by moving mountains. So I want to talk to you today briefly about moving mountains, because if Bostonians can move them, and yet I want to ask you this question. If Bostonians can move mountains, then my question for you is, what mountain do you need to move? If mountains were problems and you were facing a mountain-sized problem, are you willing to move it? Are you willing to move it? This mountain-sized problem, I think, has to exist in a way that I want to ask it to you maybe in a different way. Why did you become a lawyer in the first place? Why are you here? As lawyers, we are typically problem solvers. Charles Hamilton Houston, who taught Thurgood Marshall, said that we are meant to be social engineers fixing this community, or otherwise we're just parasites on society. Which of the two are you? Well, then maybe let me ask the question to you in this way. We've all had to do that. I'm assuming all of us had to do that. If you didn't have to do that, then that means you've been practicing for a long time. If you're in Illinois practicing for a long time, not doing that, then you probably met Abraham Lincoln. I want to talk to you sooner or later. But the reality is, we've all written this. And so what did you write in this thing? What did you write about in your personal statement? What did you say? I'm a good arguer, everyone tells me, or I want to fight justice, or I'm the first in my family to go and I want to make a change. What did you write about? Juxtapose that to how you actually practice today. One of my best friends, Noel Starrett, he and I were at the Cubs game last night. We were hanging out, and we were talking sort of about the difference between practicing law and a personal statement and being in law school versus the actual practice and the struggles. Lawyers today are more suicidal and addicts and doing things that destroy them. But none of us wrote about that in our personal statement. At least I hope you didn't. So the question is, what are you writing about in your personal statement? I want to maybe share this idea with you. I want to share this idea with you that maybe, if you haven't realized it, that mountains might seem really big to move, and they are. But you can move it. I remember talking to my grandmother when I was a little boy, and I would say to my grandmother, Nana, I can't do it. This problem is too hard. Nana, I can't do this math problem. Nana, I can't. And my Nana would say, baby, yes, Nana. How do you move a mountain? Oh, Nana, I can't right now. I don't have time for this, Nana. My show's coming on, right? Thundercats, Thundercats, Thundercats. Oh, like I gotta go watch TV, Nana, I don't got time for this. And no, my Nana would say to me, she would say, baby, how do you move a mountain? Nana, I don't know. Okay, Nana, I don't know. Tell me the answer. And she would take her crooked little fingers and put them in the air and grab an imaginary pebble and say, pebble by pebble by pebble. You move a mountain pebble by pebble. But more importantly, what she was telling me was that don't go looking for the answer. Be the answer. So why are you here? Are you the answer? Reality is, you are the answer. And many of the things that we show up for were all answers in ways that deals with law and the courtroom. And yet the reality is simply this. There are so many of us today that show up for these conferences wanting to know the answer. No, just tell me what the answer is. Tell me the technology, guys. Tell me the answer. Tell me how to fix this thing. Tell me the answer, we all say. And the reality is the struggle that we have with being asked and wanting to be told the answer is simply this. When I was a kid growing up, I remember it was elementary school, then middle school, then high school, then college, or high school, then college, then a job, right? And I was thinking about my kids on Tuesday morning when they got up. They were told what to wear, then told what to eat at the breakfast table, then told to get into the car to grab their backpacks, then told to be quiet while daddy's driving before I reach back there and get your leg, and then told to get out the car, and then told to sit down by their teachers and everything else throughout the school day. Then they get home and they're told what to do again. And then from elementary school to middle school to high school to college to law school to the very end, getting a job, they're told what to do. And then we show up in conferences wanting to be told the answer. Or as someone mentioned at lunch, whose husband was the second with the internet and works on all these things and made a marriage between all this stuff, said, well, we were talking at the table and we just don't know what to do because you're not telling us. Ms. Donna, can I have that box, please? And in reality, that was a great throw. I should have dove for it. That wouldn't look good, though. But have you guys seen this Rubik's Cube box outside? And it has a series of questions, right? Like, what changes would improve access to legal services? And what new opportunities are in the legal field? And what brought you here today? This conference suggests there's questions that will be answered. And we as educated working professionals show up to be told what to do. We're not realizing, Your Honor, to put you on the spot, because I don't practice here. I get to go back to North Carolina. No, I'm not going to throw it to you. But the question was, tell me, how do we fix this thing? How do we get more diversity? And then her question was, tell me what to do. And then the second half of her point was, because we could create a summit. And the summit could be, and then she gave the answer. Stop asking the questions about what you can do. Stop looking to be told the answer. You are the answer. Shouldn't say what, should say who. Not what needs to be told, who's going to be told. The future is now, and if it's now, then you got to realize that my mountain, where I'm here, and the reason why I'm here is because of this particular reason. It's because if I were to talk to you about my grandmother who was a phenomenal lady, my grandmother was a great woman, and I think about my grandmama, and what I think about with her is that, imagine, my Nana had all the answers. I showed up, I scraped my knee, she would put a Band-Aid on it, by going to, you know this stuff that your grandmother used to do. But imagine if grandmamas had conferences. It just wouldn't add up. It wouldn't make sense. But Bill Withers captured this very closely and very clearly in his song, Grandma's Hands. Grandma's hands used to clap in church on Sunday morning. Grandma's hands used to play that tambourine so well. Grandma's hands used to issue out a warning. She'd say, baby, don't you run so fast. Might slip on a piece of glass. Might be snakes over there in that grass. Grandma's hands. Grandma's hands. Skipping a verse said, used to hand me a piece of candy. Grandma's hands picked me up each time I fell. And Grandma's hands, they really came in handy. She'd say, Daddy, don't you whip that boy. What you want to spank him for? He didn't drop no apple core, but I don't have Grandma anymore. If I get to heaven, I'll look for Grandma's hands. But until then, I want to ask you the question. What are you doing with Grandma's hands? Imagine if all of us used Grandma's hands, we could do so much together. In the courtroom, I fight. Justice is my mountain. Justice is my mountain. So in the courtroom as a public defender and now a candidate for a particular office, I used to fight pebble by pebble. Your Honor, I'm standing up for this client. We want a bail reduction. Your Honor, I'm challenging the motion to suppress on this thing. Your Honor, we're pleading guilty because he did it and we need mercy of the court. Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen, jury, we're going. And I fought pebble by pebble, but not just in the courtroom, but also on the streets. There's an idea of social justice. If we're the lawyers, if we're the ones who are here to heal the ills of society, you've been given the tools, as Miss Susie said. If she's giving us the tools, then that means we are the tool users. That means we're the ones to use the tools. And we can step up and do things that can really change so much. Well, folks often ask me, Toussaint, well, you're an amazing leader. I'm like, Hannah knows that's not true, but you're an amazing leader, Toussaint. Well, I'm human like everybody else. And I would say to folks, all right, well, they would ask me, what makes you a great leader? And I would say, well, do me a favor, spell the word leader. So yeah, spell it for me. Spell it for me, if you don't mind. And no cheating. What are the four most important letters in that word? L-E-A-D. It's not about me, the leader, but it's about me and what I do. Lead. It's not me, this noun. It's about me, the verb. It's not about me and who I am with my title and how good I look in a suit in the courtroom, but it's about me and how hard I advocate for my clients and in changing the system. And if I L-E-A-D, if I do this verb, the E-R connects me to my ship. That ship that leaves port carrying precious cargo that helps people around the world. If I do something good, there will be good results. If I L-E-A-D, the E-R connects me to my ship, and this is the idea of leadership. So are you doing? Nike, $873 million it was worth at one point. They went on a marketing campaign, found three little words, and now they're worth $10 billion. Those three little words, the reason why that campaign worked is because we're not doing it. So just do it. Just do it. Jesus Christ said to a group of fishermen, hey, follow me and I'll give you everlasting life. You know, Sterry. And then there was a man in 1917, I believe, where he said to a group of men who were laying in a bunker, why you lay here, you sons of bees? Get up and let's fight, because the enemy was coming. The reality is, if we're going to L-E-A-D, if we're going to be leaders, then either we promise everlasting life or a glorious death, but people are waiting to be led. Are you the answer to fixing and improving our system? Time is up, but I'm going to finish up real quick. You've seen this picture before? But how many of you have ever seen this picture? Same picture. Down there is Tank Man, the size of a pebble, 4 tanks, then hundreds of tanks, a lot of soldiers. He L-E-A-D. Very quickly. This is not something I'm making up. You can solve and move mountains pebble by pebble. This man is Julian Bond. He marched with Dr. King, and in marching with Dr. King, all he did, as he told me, because he was my mentor during law school, all he said was, Toussaint, all I did was I walked up to people and said, will you sign up to vote? Sign your name here to vote. Will you vote? Sign up to vote. And that's all he did, pebble by pebble, person by person, and that moved mountains. As the founder of SNCC with Dr. King. This woman in the middle, who is she? Rosa Parks, and that's me on the very end, and I had a chance to live at Rosa Parks. I don't have time to tell you the story, but she never sat in front of the bus. She never refused to get up. That's legend. What she actually did was she helped people pebble by pebble. She volunteered everywhere. So when she got into some trouble, folks showed up to help her, and it ended segregation and busing as we know it through the Montgomery bus boycott. Continue, the woman is Nancy Brinker. Her sister was Susan G. Komen, who died of cancer, and sister said to Nancy, Nancy, don't let this happen to anybody else. And Nancy said, okay, I got you. So Nancy had races, 5Ks, and she was moving pebbles by pebbles, and then she ran into a guy who owns a football team. It's blue and white with a star, and they're also really bad. And she said to this owner, she said, Mr. Owner, everything in your store is blue and white, make it pink, because women like to buy pink. And she made it pink, and he made it pink, and then all of a sudden we have the month of October known as Breast Cancer Awareness. All because one woman decided to move pebbles. And I've been fortunate in Charlotte, where I live, to befriend Cam Newton, the quarterback for the Panthers, and I sit in his family suite, and it's amazing when we get down to the game when everyone's warming up, and to see these giants running around in pink. All because one woman was willing to move pebbles. Johnny Cochran, a lawyer, the most famous black man lawyer in the world when I was an undergraduate school, and I was working for federal prosecutors as a student intern, and he said to me, hey man, it was a case he was representing, Riddick Bowe, the boxer. Anyways, he said to me after the fact, hey man, why are you here? I want to go to law school, sir. I said, okay, I believe, I don't remember what he said. I just got excited because he told me I could. And my little bony chest, I don't got no chest, was walking like this the rest of the day, like, oh, I'm about to be a lawyer. What are you telling people with your privilege? How are you moving pebbles for someone who doesn't look like you, Miss Jane? Brown versus Board of Education, these are the kids. Hugh McCall, you've heard of Bank of America? He's the owner, he's the founder. He and I have breakfast once a month, and I'm introducing him to young men on the streets who want to do something better with their life, and he has a whole lot of pebbles. I ain't figured out how to get none for myself yet, no, but just kidding. But he's there, and he's using his privilege and pebbles, and you guys know this particular gentleman. My brother's here. My brother works as an engineer at the Sears Tower, and the Cook County was having a dinner, and I was clerking for Judge Goldberg, the Honorable Judge Goldberg, and I got a chance to go to this dinner, and at this dinner I met Senator Barack Obama. We had this conversation, and it was great. I'm running out of time, I know, and I apologize, but you know, Senator Obama, when he became president, when I was here, we talked about him and his book and his dad. He gave me his numbers, said call me anytime. He went to D.C., I went to Charlotte after law school, and what I remember, one of the pictures of the scenes is when his daughter got in trouble for drinking. Remember this? Beer pong, y'all remember this? And helicopter Air Force One flies into the White House on the lawn, and guess who's at the bottom of the stairs waiting for his daughter to get off like this? She got off, she was like this, with her head low, and he walked right next to her like, wait till I get your hair. She's all right. Every black person in the room know what happened next. So when my daughter gets in trouble at school, and I pull up to my driveway in my minivan, I hit the button, get out the car. I got a little small one. Wait till we get inside. He's showing me pebble by pebble how to be a father, how to be a husband, how to be a lawyer. What are you showing the rest of the world? Listen, I'm not coming here to tell you any answers, because you are the answer. You were given tools by these phenomenal speakers here earlier, and I learned a lot of stuff. I didn't know half the technology words anyway. I'm struggling with it too, but it's my job, if I'm the answer, to solve problems. And if I have to solve problems, then I gotta use the tools that will help me do that. I don't believe that the clients as the tail should be wagging the dog. It's time for us as lawyers to recognize our systemic and eternal impact, and to regain the power that we have, and to do things that impact the system in a way that makes us better. Move mountains. Because that's what I did. And it changed the narrative of protesting. Women's March folks reached out to me afterwards. Different folks reached out to me. The Student March for Our Lives reached out to me. Hey man, how'd you do? And what? Look, just do, just LEAD. You don't need me, just... So I wonder, how will you move mountains? Well, the answer is pebble by pebble. So what pebble is in your hand? Your hands, your hands. It's grandma's hands. Used to hand me a piece of candy. Grandma's hands picked me up each time I fell. Grandma's hands, yeah, they really came in handy, but I don't have grandma anymore. If I get to heaven, I'll look for grandma's move mountains, pebble by pebble. Be the answer. Use grandma's hands and lead. Move mountains pebble by pebble because you're the answer. With grandma's hands, you can lead. Be the answer. Lead. Do what you got to do. Pebble by pebble by. Thank you very much.